Mercedes went into the 2022 Formula One season confident that it would be able to meet the new regulations and win a record-tying ninth consecutive Constructors' Championship. However, when teams received their first taste of the rules during preseason testing in Barcelona, that belief was shattered. The fact that Mercedes finished third and fourth with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in Australian Grand Prix despite being nearly a second per lap slower proves that Ferrari and Red Bull have snatched the title battle between the Silver Arrows. Hey everyone, welcome back to the F1 Trackside. In this video, we'll be talking about the plans for the new Mercedes upgrades. And before we start, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Done? Let's get started. As the Silver Arrows strive to claw back performance, Mark Hughes expects a big chance to the Mercedes W13 for this weekend's Australian Grand Prix. Technical illustrations are provided by Giorgio Piola. During the weekend in Melbourne, Mercedes will make the first big hardware update to their car. At the absolute least, we anticipate a completely new rear wing, as well as possible alterations to the floor. These are the first steps in what the team hopes will be a development program that will allow them to unlock the potential of their W13 concept. However, it's merely a band-aid solution to the underlying aerodynamics issue, which require a more comprehensive solution, which the team is investigating. With their brand new F1 75, Ferrari secured a 1-2 finish and victory in Bahrain. Mark Hughes examines the Tipo 0667 power unit, which is a critical component of their success. In the F1 75, Ferrari has clearly developed a fantastic vehicle. Charles Leclerc appeared to have the race wrapped up for the Scuderia even before Max Verstappen's late withdrawal in the Red Bull. The new car appears to feature a well-balanced, drivable chassis and a powerful powertrain. Mercedes' Toto Wolff had said as early as the Barcelona shakedown days that the Ferrari power unit appeared to be the most powerful of all. The Bahrain Grand Prix did nothing to dispel that image, especially given the excellent performances of the Ferrari-powered Haas and Alfa Romeo teams. The Tipo 0667 power unit is largely new, with only the ERS energy recovery and battery system from the Russian Grand Prix in September 2022 carrying over. The hybrid is identical to the one we raced at the end of the season, with a few extra sensors for the FIA 2022 regulations. Ferrari boss Mattia Binotto, an engineman by training, said at the car's presentation, "The rest, particularly the internal combustion engine, is dramatically different in my opinion. We got a new fuel which is 10% ethanol, which changes the combustion a lot. We're all losing about 20 horsepower, which means the combustion is extremely different. There were a lot of changes in the power unit's development, and we changed it quite a bit, particularly in the design of the combustion itself." Wolff Zimmerman, who heads up Ferrari's advanced projects or innovative solutions program and previously worked at AVL in Graz, an engineering contractor that has worked with several Formula One manufacturers, led the project. It's expected to include intercooler technology advancements as in the case with Mercedes, but the biggest improvement over last year is rumored to be the combination of super fast ignition and a more turbulent intake mixture, allowing the flame to spread to the edges of the combustion chamber more quickly. As a result, the maximum 500 bar fuel pressure allowed by the standards can be better utilized. It's the first Ferrari hybrid engine to keep the integrated turbine/compressor layout. The split turbo concept is now used by everyone else. However, significant adjustments have been made in the combustion process, and despite the requirement for E10 fuel in 2020, Ferrari has improved on the unit from 2021. Last year's engine, by Ferrari's own submission, was roughly 20 braking horsepower less than the Mercedes and Honda. In Bahrain, Leclerc won the pole by 0.123 seconds over Verstappen. Leclerc won the pole. We can get a stronger understanding of the Ferrari strengths if we look at a detailed comparison of their laps, as well as how the two cars compared in their electrifying 3-lap wheel-to-wheel duel after the race's initial pit stops. Although the Ferrari had greater downforce, allowing the Red Bull to be 7 km/h faster in the second trap qualifying, with Verstappen second to teammate Sergio Perez through there and Leclerc just 11th, the Ferrari's acceleration was clear looking at speed traces around the lap. This might have been seen in the Leclerc/Verstappen dice as well. On the exit of the turns, the Ferrari would pull away while the Red Bull would only close up near the end of the straights. This explains why Verstappen made all his overtaking efforts in turn 1 rather than turn 4. Yes, but I can't get close enough to him through turn 1 for that, Verstappen said when his race engineer reminded him that the T4 overtake was open. On the exits of turns 4, 8, and 10, the Ferrari's acceleration advantage was also obvious, as corroborated by GPS speed races. Under acceleration, the Ferrari gains roughly 3 km/h on the Red Bull between the exit turn of 4 and the end of sector 1 right before turn 5. Verstappen is only 14th behind that line, behind Leclerc, Zhou Guanyu's Alfa Romeo, and Mick Schumacher's Haas. The second and third fastest cars of all time are both Ferrari powered. Of course, there are a variety of reasons why one car may accelerate faster than another. One of the most noticeable is gearing. The Ferrari may have had shorter overall gearing than the Red Bull, as Leclerc was a gear ahead of Verstappen in qualifying on various sections of the course. Before the turn 4 braking zone, he was in 8th gear, while Verstappen was in 7th. Mercedes believes that if it can figure out what it takes to keep its 2021 F1 car from bouncing on the straights, he'll be able to run in a better setup window, resulting in an immediate performance boost. The problem is that Mercedes has yet to figure out what causes the prop positioning and what variables led the phenomenon to arise. Toto Wolff, Mercedes team boss, stated that the car had some hidden gremlins that needed to be discovered, and things were more perplexing because no matter what setup tweaks were made throughout the Melbourne weekend, they seem to have little effect on the issue. Porpoising looks to be less common during races, and Mercedes decided to leave an optical right height sensor on Hamilton's car for the remainder of the Australian weekend in an attempt to figure out why. When turned on, the sensor emits light and measures the height and trajectory of the car with respect to the track, allowing you to provide answers on what is happening on straights and in bends. Those devices are extremely prevalent in Formula 1, however. They're usually only used in free practice sessions because they add weight to the car, which is estimated to be around 1 kilogram and 2 kilograms. Mercedes, on the other hand, believe that the advantages of retaining it on the car for qualifying and the race, as well as the additional knowledge obtained, it would exceed the disadvantages of having extra ballast. The Sky was told by Lewis Hamilton, "My car has something on it that makes it a little heavier, but it's not a major step. Hopefully it'll allow the team to gather additional data during the race." Mercedes also deployed an optical ride height sensor obtained within pods on the edge of the floor during some of its free practice runs, which wasn't the only data collection exercise it did. Mercedes has put a push for enhancements on the back burner in order to gain answers on its porpoising, as it does not want to muddle matters by changing its car configuration just yet. As a result, the team has yet to deploy a unique low downforce rear wing, opting instead to employ a modified version of the high downforce wing it debuted with earlier in the season. With the porpoising difficulties remaining top of mind, it has shifted its focus to race pace, knowing that Ferrari and Red Bull are now out of reach on Saturdays. Mercedes is putting a lot of effort since it's not only attempting to hit the sweet spot in terms of performance, but it's also swapping between mechanical and aerodynamic configurations. Hamilton and George Russell demonstrate this by alternating between a rear wing configuration with and without the trailing edge gurney flap, as well as aggressively pushing the car in a manner that exacerbated the porpoising issues in order to collect data and understand how to cope with it. Because of the car's severe porpoising issue, the team had to run with it with a very different aerodynamic setup from the one that was developed in simulation. This has influenced the rear wing designs that have been chosen. Because of the porpoising issue, The automobile is unable to create the underbody downforce that simulation predicted, and the only way to keep the problem under control is to raise the ride height. This is a fairly inefficient method of evading the proposing threshold because it just reduces downforce without significantly reducing drag. The drag may even increase in some circumstances. Given the higher ride height they've been compelled to race the car with, the Mercedes W13 has been carrying more rear wing than the team would have preferred. Hopefully, this won't be the situation in Melbourne. However, the underlying difficulty of how to fix the proposing problem remains. This may necessitate a complete floor layout. The Mercedes has qualified about 0.7 seconds off pole position on average during the 2 races. Even if we witness a more competitive W13, it should only be the first step toward a more completely realized answer. Did you find this video informative or helpful? Let us know in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos, and don't forget to like and share. Take care.